Alrighty, let's talk about this one. How to send a contact form via email using NodeMailer is a technical contact form. Now, okay, I learned to code not long ago, right? And why am I doing this video? Because once upon a time, contact form, for those who don't know how to code, it costs money. Some of them are free, but if you want to add a specific information, a little bit more detailed information, back in the day, I don't know about now, but back in the day, it used to cost you some money. For example, this is a regular contact form. Basically, it's the basic name, email, company, notes, and so on, right? But as soon as you want to put something technical, something more specific, for example, a torque, pressure, RPM, in this page, what I have over here is a hydraulic motor page with technical details. And if people don't know how to select a motor, I say, okay, you can contact me and give me these requirements that you need for your machine so that I can select a motor for you. And to do something like this, it used to cost you some money to do that. Now, I used to know a little bit, I know a little bit of HTML back in the time, and I knew how to do this, but I didn't know how to process it to get an email, right? And so that's the reason I started to code. One of the many reasons why I started to code. So how do we do this? So let's go to VS Code. Over here I have the page. Basically is this page of the motor. Over here, just an overall page with the HTML of the motor. And then on a dev, I have this as a component. I'm using Next.js and with React Next.js. And so this specific component, I put it on a dev, and it's this one right here, motor form. And then, so let's get into the code of this specific component. So that specific component, go under the component tab, and over here, motor form. And using React Next.js and React code, you gotta put your JavaScript, your logics, and then you go to the JSX, yeah, I think that's what it's called, which is the replacement of the HTML. And right here is where it starts. So this section over here is basically the component from here. And the way to code it, I start with the dev, and I put a dev, a p tag, and I say not sure what motor to select, and so on. And go to the next dev, next line on a p tab, and then I start with the form. The form is what we're gonna send out this section over here. This is what matters. We need to put on these fields and then submit and send it by email. So we start doing the form over here, form tag, and then I start with a p tag, hydraulic motor info. And then I have a label and an input. The label HTML4, this is a torque, and this label goes with this input ID torque. Each one of these lines over here, I have torque, pressure, RPM, first name, last name, company, email, and notes, right? So each one of them are a group, are together, are a pair. And HTML4, ID torque, and then I give a class name. This is just for the CSS, give it the style I want, a name, I put the name torque, a placeholder, torque require, that'll be over here, torque require, as a placeholder. And then on change, now I'm getting into the variables. On the code, I have all these variables over here. Each one of these variables go with a pair of a label and input. So for each on change, I put a variable, and then I'm gonna change that variable. Set torque e dot target dot value. So whatever I write on the torque is the new value of the of the um, of the variable. Whatever I write over here is the value of the variable as I'm changing it. As I write, I said I change the value of the variable. I do the same thing for each one of them. I prepare it so whatever information I want for the user to put in there, or I need for the user to put in there, I write the label and I put the input. And I do the same thing for each and all of them over here. So I keep going, and at the very end I have just an input by itself with nothing in there. I said input type is submit. That'll be this button over here. I type submit, and then value submit class name, that's just for the CSS, and then I do on click handle submit, and then this is the function that I'm calling in. So we finish with the form, we go back to the logic of the function, we go up on the top. Over here, all the variables, you have torque, pressure, RPM, and I use state, write the variable. All of them are blank, is a blank. And then except for the submit button, the state that I use is false. And then I use a use router, and we're gonna get to that one over here. When they press the button over there on the bottom, the submit button, once they change all this information over here and they press submit, now I call the function constant handle submit e, and then it starts with the logics of it. If the first name is in blank, then I want to give an alert. Please enter first name. Also, if the email is in blank, please enter a valid email. And then I do also prevent default. The prevent default is just so that I can send properly the form properly. And so that's just the way it's used on React on Next.js when using forms. E prevent default from E over here. I did not put an alert on the other ones because sometimes people don't know what torques they need. Sometimes people, they don't know what pressure they want. So because sometimes they just don't know, I want them to be able to send me some information, to send me some email, and then I contact them back asking for more details. So the only ones that I leave that are required are gonna be the first name and the email. That way, if they need anything else, I can contact them back and say, hey, you send me something, I need this, I need that, and so on. I still going to need the torque and the pressure and the RPM, and it's going to be required. I'm going to need to find out what it is, but if they don't know, they can still contact me and get more details on what they need. So I do that with all the values. Then as I say console log sending, because at that moment I want to know, this is for troubleshooting when I was troubleshooting it. And console log sending, it means this has started, the submit button has been pressed. And then I put on another variable, late data, and in the data I include all the variables with all the new values that they have. They have new values because they change all the values in the inputs. So whatever comes over here is going to be with the new values. At that moment, I catch all the variables with all the new values, and I'm not done. I'm not done yet. But at that moment, I want to send the user router replace thank you. That's another page. And even though I'm not done, I don't need them anymore at the moment. So I just want to send them somewhere else. And, and so let's say I do this, and I say submit, and I send it to the thank you page. There's more to do for the email, but I don't need the user to stay on the page. So I just send them somewhere else. So I go back over here, I go back to my VS Code, then I do a fetch function and API /back motor. This is the API where I'm gonna do a post request. I'm gonna put in a post, and I'm gonna prepare the data, the variable. I'm gonna prepare over here. I'm gonna say body colon JSON.stringify, and I put the data over here. Now the data is in a JSON format. It's posted on the API page. Then I go, I said response, console log, response has been received. If I get a response, then if I get a response status 200, at that moment I said, okay, the response is good, and I console log it. This is just for troubleshooting, and I say response succeeded. So it's all good, and I reset the values of the variables. Reset the value, and it said submitted. It was false. I make it true, and that set first name, and all the other variables I set it back to blanks as they were, because previously they already had values from the form, from the inputs that somebody was typing in. They changed the values, they send the form, and then I send it back to the API. The API receive it. It says okay. I reset the value, and as it is right now for this part of the form, everything is fine. So we go back over here. There's nothing more to do. They have done whatever they needed to do, and the form is on its way to come to me. Now I need to go to this page, to the API page. The API page, I have it right here, and it's not under components, it's under pages, API, and the API that I have is the back motors.js. For this section over here, I'm going to be using Node Mailer, and I need to install it. What is Node Mailer for you guys? Node Mailer is a part of Node.js, or work with Node.js, and it sends emails, and I don't pay for this, you know. And like I said, one of the reasons why I started to code was because somebody wanted to charge me $15 a month just so that I can do these three little lines over here, you know. And I knew the HTML, but I didn't know how to process it, right? So I figured out, oh, you know what? Node Mailer, it has it. I can process it via Node Mailer. Oh my goodness, you know. So, but in order to process it over here, you do need an email that has SMTP transport. An SMTP, it can be a Gmail, it can be an Outlook. You know, a lot of people, they're already using SMTP. So many times somebody pay for it. I don't know if you can get it for free. I'm not sure. I pay for it. But the cost of paying an email that has a SMTP is a lot less than $15 a month. You know, and sometimes people already use it. Sometimes people already pay for it. So I did have it. It was already available. I say, oh, cool, I can use it, you know. So in order to use Node Mailer, you can go to their page. It's nodemailer.com. You got to do an npm install Node Mailer in your VS Code, in your package JSON. You have to do over here. It says npm install Node Mailer, and it'll come out over here, right? So once you have that in there, is the motor form, is this section over here. Once you have that in there, you let Node Mailer require Node Mailer, and you have it there. Now you can work with it. And all of this code over here, a lot of this code, you can get it from the information from the documents, but we're gonna go through it quickly over here. First of all, you have to create a transporter. So const transporter equals Node Mailer that create transport, and you have a service. In this case, it's gonna be Outlook 365, and the authorization. The authorization, you have user and you have pass. For the user is the email and then the password. This one, as you see over here, process.env.email, process.env password, which is the information that I have in my .env.local file. Because I'm using Vercel to host it, I have .env.local, and that's where I put all the information that don't want to be posted somewhere else. So I have it as a secret in there, right? So I process it in there, and then I go to another two variables, another two process.env. There's gonna process.env. There's gonna be email 1 and email 2. The email 2 it can be any email. It doesn't have to be SMPT. It can be whatever email do you want to receive it. It's gonna be the email that you want to put in there. It can be anything. The email that you're gonna send it from is the one that you're gonna need the SMPT, and you're gonna need the transported system over here. So anyway, we have that in there. We keep going, and now this section over here, we're going to validate the transporter. And so you have transporter.verify, and you have a function, and if there's an error, give me something. If it's good, says server is ready to take our message. So it's ready. Resolve success. So we got this part. If there's any errors with the transported, and now we go into the data, cons mail data, and this again, this is part of node mailer code, the mail data, and you have from, to, subject, and text. From, I'm gonna process the variable from email 1, which is this one over here, is the process.env. I put it in the template literal. I don't know how to pronounce it, but basically it's the back colon with the dollar signal and the curly brackets, and then you put the variable. That's how you put a variable in an area where it's what do you call this, quotes, text. Man, I'm forgetting. You can tell I don't code that much. I code once in a while. But anyway, that's how you do it, to put a variable in a section where you have a text. So anyway, I have a from, process the variable 1, and the 2, process the variable 2, and then subject, and I put motor form. I put it in motor form because when I receive an email and it has that on the subject, I know it's coming from here, from this section. So I know if I receive an email and it has that one, it means it's coming from here. This is the form that is being sent to me. And then text, I leave it on blank because you can do a text for the body, but I decided to do an HTML. And for the put on the HTML, you need again a template literals. Man, my coding lingo is awesome. Anyway, I do this one, the little back text over here, and I put a div, and again I put a dollar symbol, and then I put the variable request body dot company, request body dot first name, last name, email, nodes, torque, pressure, body RPM, and so on. Now, where does this request body dot company comes from? Well, it comes from the post. It comes from the post that I did over here. As you can see, is the data, let data with all the variables, and then I put body dot stringify and put the data in it. So I'm doing a post to this page, and I'm catching the information by doing request body and then put the variable on it. And so I do the same thing with all of the variables, with all of these variables over here that were posted on the data. If I want to catch any of them, I just do request dot body dot whatever variable I have, and I put it in the format for HTML in each div. And for example, I'm going to send an email over here. Let's say that I do torque. We put whatever variable that we want to change. Right now we're changing the variables. They were on blank. They were changing it now. And then I say hello, and then I hit submit. It goes to this page. Thank you. data is being processed at this point. Let's see, I go back over here and it's go back on blank. And if I wait for a little bit and check my email, right here, I'm gonna have the very same information over here, all the variables with the HTML format that I have on this section. So all this HTML over here, it comes over here, and in this section there are the variables that they were changed, and so and so I get my email that way. So anyway, I keep going like that, and then this is the body, the mail data. I prepare the email data, I prepare the format that I want to receive, and it works good enough. And next, the next thing that I do another await new promise, and now I'm going to use the transporter to send the email. And I say transporter that send email, and in parentheses I put the mail data, which is this variable over here with all of this information, which is the body of the email. I send the mail data function, and all this code is you can find it also in NodeMailer. And now this section over here is in case of any errors. If I find an error, do console log error, alls, console log all good. And so that's the end on how to send an email. It's really very easy. You just use NodeMailer, a very short code with NodeMailer. Get the form, you post the form, you get the details that you want for each one, label and input, and you send it out. It's very easy. It's no big deal. It saved me $15 a month at that time. That I mean, it's not that much money, but I think it was silly, and I don't know how much they cost these days. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's free now. Maybe they have charges for something else. Who knows? But that is how you send an email form, and that is the email for today. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.